Guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel and watching today's video. Guys, today I got a good one for y'all. I'm going to show you guys how to fish the river part of the lake as far as the key structures on it. Actually, we're up here camping right now with the boys, but we're on the upper arm of this lake's river right here. And this offers a really good example about what you need to look for and how a river section lays out. So going to be some good information in this video. Really appreciate you guys tuning in for it. Also, guys, real quick before we get started, just a quick invitation. Anybody interested in booking an on-the-water lesson with me, if you want to learn more about fishing rivers even, all you had to do is go to my Facebook page, Randy Blaukat Professional Angler. Just shoot me a private message. And also, guys, real quick, Tackle Warehouse has got that big Labor Day sale going on right now this month. Great time to get stocked up on some tackle for this fall. I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description there if you guys would like to use that link to get you guys some tackle, so appreciate that. Okay, guys, this is my deal. The scenario you see us behind here, this is my home. This is my strength. This is what I love to fish. This is my favorite type of water to fish. And it used to be really good. There was a period when I first started looking or running this type of water back in the 80s where I did really good for about 5 or 6 years. And a lot of other guys, not a lot, but there's a handful of other guys that did too. Won a lot of tournaments, placed high in a lot of tournaments, but the problem that you have inherently with these river systems like this is these are small areas up here, and these fish don't replenish very easily. So after a course of 5 or 6 or 10 years or whatever, about, you draw out a co-angler and he tells his buddy, and the next thing you know, somebody else is up here. Fish get hauled out of here. They usually get hauled down the lake back to where the tournament's out of. So the populations of bass that used to live in these upper river portions on most of our lakes across the country are just not here like they used to be. They've just been hauled out. They're not going to swim back. And like I said, since you're dealing with a more narrowed type of area, it doesn't have the potential to hold large numbers of fish. But that being said, you can still catch some quality fish in this type of water. It's just not as good as what it used to be. So I want to give you guys some tips and advice on what to look for on that. So I'm going to turn the camera around here and show you what to look for. Okay, real quick, Elijah's got a cricket he wants to show you guys here. Caught it on the beach here. He's been doing some swimming and that type of stuff. We're actually out on this gravel bar right here. So anyway, guys, let's take a look at this scenario here. On these river sections like this is a really good example of what I'm talking about. Most rivers, you've got two different scenarios. You got a channel side, like it's right over there, steep bank. Usually it has deeper water on it. It's got, some type of, rock structures. You can see right there. Nice looking rocky bank. Look at that right there. And on the steeper side, you got a diversity. There's a lay down tree. You guys can see that lay down tree right there. And, this is high percentage areas right there. And then on the other side of it, you've got the flatter areas like this, the gravel bars, mud banks, flat type of areas. And throughout a river system, guys, you got sections where, the river is straight, and then where it makes bends and that type of stuff. So it's just typical riverine type of an area. This is sort of like what most lakes are before they got, impounded. So here's what you want to look for. First of all, high percentage areas, your channel banks over there. This type of area that you can see right here, this is going to be your key areas when you're fishing a river. They're good all year long, depending upon the time of the year. There's a lot of different techniques that I'll talk about here in a second. And then generally, the flatter areas like this are going to be better, when the water's warmer. So say, for example, see this lay down tree right here in the water. This type of structure on the flat side can be really, really good anytime that water's over 75 degrees, especially if you have off-colored water, which most of these river sections do. And then also, there's a lot of other little unique features in most rivers. Like you can see right there, there's a little cut going into the river. That's always a high percentage area. Another thing about it is these mouth of these sloughs right here. You can see the opening of that slough. They can be really good. Depending upon the water level, like the flooded willows can be good there. So you sort of have to mix it up, depending upon the time of the year. But man, this is the type of area I look for right there. So let's talk a little bit about how you want to fish and how you want to approach a river section. It depends upon the time of the year and the water temperature. Most of the time, these are not good winter areas. Unless you have like some really clear water and some big spotted bass in the lake, Usually not that good in the winter time because, you know, this is shallower water up here and they just don't bite as good. Personally, I like to fish these type of river areas anytime that water's over like 55 degrees. It seems like it gets better during that situation. I'll start when the water's 55 degrees on those steep banks up there. You know, I'll throw a jerkbait and a crankbait. That's my main two things. Sometimes I'll pitch a jig. A jig can be really good once that water temperature starts to get about 60. But those fish will live from about March until, you know, December on those steep banks there. A lot of it just depends on, like I said, the water clarity and the water depth and water level at the time that you're going to fish. But there's a diversity of things that can work, guys. I've caught them on top waters, like I said, different type of crankbaits, flipping and pitching stuff, spinner baits, chatter baits, just about like anything else. But you really just sort of have to key in on the bait. That's one of the things I found about these river systems is these bass are very bait sensitive. There's a certain profile and a certain color that they want based upon the time of the day and the water clarity. Like say for example, they're biting a crankbait. You know, they may be biting that blackback chartreuse side at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then later in the day by 1 o'clock, you may have to go to a shad pattern. Again, depending upon the water clarity, they may want a black and blue jig, or they might want a brown jig. You just have to rotate it up from that. But it's very important on this type of water that you have to be extremely stealthy and extremely efficient and extremely pace yourself very well and very slow, because you can't slop through these type of areas. These fish are highly educated up here. They're a lot more aware since they're shallow. So one of the big factors about catching fish in a river system is you got to work slow. You got to make accurate casts. You got to make multiple casts. You know, you just have to be a little bit more aware of that. It's not like those big open water fish down the lake goes. Another thing about this, time of the day is critical. River fishing is notorious for specific bite windows during the day. It can be from the morning up until the middle of the day till the end of the day. It just depends on time of the year and, you know, if they're moving much water through it. A lot of times these type of areas can either be stagnant or there can be a significant current depending upon how the lake's set up. You know, if you're fishing here in the Ozarks, you're not going to have much current unless the water's high. If you're fishing some of those Alabama Coosa River lakes, you're going to have significant current all the time. Now, the flat sides here, if you can get them going on the flat sides, you're way ahead of everybody else, because most people automatically go to the steeper banks there. And if you go to these flat sides here, if you can get those fish going on a flat side, you always usually have it to yourself. The techniques and stuff on flat side of the bank, it just depends again on time of the year. Most of the time, I don't like to fish it, like I said, unless that water temperature's a little bit warmer. Some of the top ones, guys, just like a lipless crankbait covering water. Chatterbait can work really good, especially if there's some, you know, water, you know, flooded or high water conditions. But the main thing that I look for, again, is this type of, any type of isolated wood. Isolated wood on the flat side of a river section is always key. You know, square bill crankbait, flipping and pitching some type of a creature bait or jig. You know, just, you sort of have to fish everything to see. That's the thing about it. It's like most people, the reason they don't do good in these river systems is they're not thorough enough. And they come up here and they'll fish for an hour or two. They see a bunch of boats and they say, man, this isn't worth it. I'm not catching much. I need to get out of here. And they bail out. But the people that catch them in these type of areas are the people that get out here and they say, I'm not going to leave it. I'm going to stay up here all day long and I'm going to figure these fish out. And that's what I usually try to do. If I'm committed to this type of an area, there's nothing that can convince me to leave it, especially if I'm getting a few bites. And I'll try to figure out, you know, exactly the color, the bait profile, bait presentation, time of day, narrow those subtleties down as much as I possibly can with it. So I don't know why I'm giving you guys away my secret here, because this is sort of like this type of secret areas. But the main reason that I'm talking about this, I normally would have never talked about this, but again, these type of areas are just not as good as they used to be. Most tournaments are won and dominated anymore by the lower end of the lake. There's so many tournaments anymore that fish get hauled from all over the lake, usually to the major weigh-in areas. So if you have a lake that has, you know, one or two different, you know, launch facilities where there's a lot of people, a lot of tournaments out of, those fish will gravitate towards that area within like a 5-mile radius of that. That's usually where the biggest populations of fish are now. but 40 years ago it wasn't like this. This is where all the action was happening. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, guys. We'll talk later.